Welcome back. You're still with us on Startup Street. India's fertility landscape is undergoing quite a revolution, and leading that charge is Luma Fertility. The startup blends cutting-edge science with deeply human care to redefine how India approaches reproductive health. Now, with $4 million in fresh funding led by Peak 15's Surge and backing from marquee names like Amita Shah and Vijay Taparia, Luma is gearing up to scale its full-stack tech-enabled clinics and bring empathy back to fertility care. Joining me now to discuss this further is Neha Motwani, the founder of Luma Fertility. Also with me is my colleague Shruti. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Neha. First up, what kind of gaps in India's current fertility ecosystem were you most determined to solve when you started Luma?
Thanks for having me. And I think, this actually goes back to my own journey. And I think, having been through fertility treatments myself, I saw the gaps which were very, very evident. And I personally felt like the experience side was extremely broken, right? Right from somebody trying to access fertility services to the entire journey when the treatment happens. And what we saw globally when we benchmarked, we actually realized that technology in IVF has really not changed in the last sort of 30, 40 years. But what really can make a massive difference, because it's a very difficult journey in itself, is how do you make the patient sort of feel cared for, feel supported. And I think the huge gap that we are trying to sort of bring in form of care that is given to the patient, technology and AI solutions that are added into the journey that actually makes the entire experience very wholesome.
Absolutely. And Neha, this is Shruti quickly stepping in. Like Arundhati mentioned earlier, you've just raised $4 million in seed funding. How do you really plan to deploy this capital across tech, clinical expansion and patient experience that you were talking about in the next phase of growth? If you could give us a sense of that.
Yeah, Shruti. So basically, I think, for us, we want to actually approach this, city by city. We've launched our first flagship clinic in Mumbai, in Bandra. It's a 6,000 square feet place. It's a large sort of flagship unit at our end. We want to scale that up and really prove that patient experience can be delivered at the level that we are looking at. So for us, patient experience is not just two words, but it's really redefining the way the patient is treated, whether it is egg freezing, whether it is a fertility consult or IVF, right? And I think once we sort of prove that, the idea is to launch 2 more clinics in Mumbai. From a capability perspective, we are investing a lot in technology. We already have an app. We already have a website that actually books real-time appointments with our doctors. And our plan is to extend that technology with deeper AI, deeper analytics, and really, merge what we are seeing in terms of the care team and the patient-centric approach to how we are managing the fertility journey along with technology. As we do that, of course, once we are extending our services outside of Bombay, we will then look at expanding across all metro cities.
Sure, absolutely. But speaking about tech there, like you pointed out, Luma is branded as both tech-enabled and patient-first, right? If you could sort of walk us through how your clinic model integrates empathy and innovation at every step.
Yeah, and I think, what happened for us is that when we looked at, what are the gaps in the market, we actually started with my own experience and extended that with about 200 women that we spoke to personally. And these are women from across India who've actually been through this journey. And what we realized is that there are actually multiple friction points, and we actually have detailed those 55 friction points that we believe every patient sort of goes through. And the idea for us was to actually solve for each and every sort of friction point. But the major sort of difference is that we've looked at everything, whether it is the center design, whether it is technology, whether it is the doctor consult, or really the treatment steps with the patient at the center. So it's really, in that sense, consumerism in healthcare, which is re-architecting the entire journey with the patient at the center. And You're absolutely right. I think empathy and compassion comes right at the core of what we are sort of doing, along with transparency and ethics, right? There's a lot of taboo associated with fertility as a subject. So we also want to ensure that there's privacy, confidentiality when somebody actually goes through this treatment.
Absolutely, that's important. But Neha, if you could now break down how Luma's revenue model works. Is it primarily procedure-based, or are there subscriptions and bundled services as well? Take us through, also if you could tell us what you're clocking currently and where you hope to end this year with.
Yeah, sure. So I think we've just started, Shruti, and I think it's literally month 2 at the clinic. So we are meeting a lot of patients, and we're actually in process to also doing a lot of treatments. From a revenue model perspective, I think we're a full stack physical clinic, and for us the revenues come from the patients who come in. Our patient acquisition strategy is primarily B2C, and we're seeing amazing traction, especially on the egg freezing side, where we are literally starting with raising awareness for women to understand where they are on the fertility timeline, and then knowing if egg freezing is the right step for them, and also initiating a preconception consults for couples to really know if they are wanting to plan a baby, how should they go about it. So our revenue model will evolve as we go along, but it will be centered around treatments and procedures that we are able to do at the clinic. And as we go along, of course, the idea is to break even in the next 8 to 9 months. And once we break even the first center, we will look at launching the other 2 centers, like I mentioned.
So you plan to break even in the next 8 months is what you're saying. So, you're sort of looking to expand post that. So what's the roadmap for the next 12 to 18 months? Will you replicate the Bandra flagship model or adapt it by city? And, what are the cities on your radar after Bombay?
We definitely want to be in all the metros. Our plan is to be in Pune, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Bangalore, Chennai. But like you said, I think the model is going to evolve. We do believe that a flagship clinic, especially the way we've created it, which is literally like a center of excellence, and it has everything full stack, right? So from a pharmacy to our lab, we have a huge cryo chamber. Our lab is completely transparent, so you can actually see through what is happening inside the lab. And this sort of flagship experience that we've created, we want to replicate each of these flagship clinics across cities, and maybe the other set of centers will be smaller. And we'll also look at a hub and spoke model, which is something that has worked well. But like it's a very, very competitive market, and there are incumbents out there. There are almost 100 clinics in each of the metro cities that we're talking about. So we're very cognizant on the fact that our differentiators need to play out, and we need to actually build as we see more traction on the egg freezing side as well as on the IVF side. One flagship clinic as we scale, we'll actually learn further and we'll take it from there.
All right. On that note, I'll have to wrap up our conversation. Many thanks, Neha, for joining us on Startup Street, and wish you the very best with all your expansion plans.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Thanks, Arundhati.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition